Okay, thank you very much. Our final session, fostering collaboration and stakeholder engagements, we will focus on strategies to build inclusive and durable partnerships for scaling shared data platforms, shared data initiatives. This session will emphasize how governments, civil society, academia, and the private sector can work together to ensure sustainability and user-centered design. Please welcome Mr. Baek Dong-yeop, Executive Principal at the National Information Society Agency, Dr. Kim Jae-won, Capacity Building and Network Engagement Specialist at the UN Climate Technology Center and Network, and Mr. Samir Akbar, Senior Environmental Specialist at the World Bank, and Mr. Chris Ziegler, Policy Specialist at the UNDP Seoul Policy Center. This session will be moderated by Zaki Curry, Senior Digital Specialist and TTL at the Korea Digital Development Program. We will first invite Mr. Baek Dong-yeop to the podium for his presentation. Thank you.
So hello everyone. Good afternoon, distinguished guests. I'm Dong-yeop Baek from the National Information Society Agency of Korea, NIA in short. So I focus on international cooperation in terms of open data policy of Korea. So it's truly an honor to be part of this meaningful event. Thank you for having me. And as someone who shares Korea's open data efforts globally, so I've worked with countries like Vanuatu, which is a very natural disaster of vulnerable countries, and Sierra Leone that I visited last year to make a presentation about Korea's case. And then today I'd like to talk about how Korea is building an open data ecosystem that encourages collaboration and real stakeholder engagement. So let me start with why stakeholder engagement is important. In open data, so involving users, whether they are citizens, businesses, and researchers, makes the data more useful and relevant to real life needs. So it also builds trust, legitimacy, and opens the door to innovation. But I think that engagement does not happen automatically. So inviting people isn't enough. For it to work, three things need to align, like Mr. Agrawal already mentioned. So I also think that citizens need to be data literate and confident using data. And secondly, the private sector must be eager to innovate with open data. And thirdly, and government must create a structure that allows for inclusive and ongoing dialogue. When the three things come together, I think engagement becomes real and sustainable. Okay, so how do we make stakeholder engagement part of the system? So I think it starts with formal governance. By that I mean a structure that's reliable, consistent, and clear enough for people to engage with confidently. So this is the governance, open data governance of Korea. In Korea, that structure is centered around the Open Data Strategy Council at the top. So what's unique is that it's co-chaired by the Prime Minister and a private sector representative. So half of the council members from civil society and the private sector. And this ensures that policymaking includes perspectives from outside the government. And the council reviews and monitors all national open data efforts, and its agendas and decisions they're having for each meetings are made openly public through the National Open Data Portal. So anyone can check what they've discussed through the council. And the Ministry of Interior and Safety leads the execution, while my agency, NIA, the third one, supports both policymaking and implementation of the open data policy. And lastly, there is also the Open Data Mediation Committee, which resolves data access issues. So this creates a reliable channel for addressing stakeholder concerns. So let me walk you through how the data request system works. Let us assume there is a person who likes to have a data, and he visited the National Open Data Portal of Korea, but he cannot find the data they want. So they can submit a formal request to the Open Data Portal for asking the data they specifically need. So as shown here on the right side of the slide, there is a formal requesting format if you click at request data on the portal, you can fill in the information about your purpose of requesting data and so on and so on. And then they're gonna the reviewing process will start. So if the data owning agency denies the request, the user can ask the mediation committee to step in within 30 days. The committee will typically review cases within 10 days, and if disclosure of the data is approved, the data is released within another 10 days. So it's going to be a very short process from the beginning for the requester to ask for data till the end of the process. Even if it's rejected, users receive a full explanation. So this transparency encourages people to engage and gives them confidence in the system. So here are two examples of how this has worked in practice, the mediation committee data. So in the middle, in the first case, a nonprofit organization requested data on accessible facilities like elevators and ramps for people with disabilities. They're having a hard time to moving around in the city. So that organization wanted to ask for data for them to freely move without difficulty. So they asked for the data, then they got it from the organization, and then they used it to create a route planning application that helps users travel independently. So that was another case. And the one to the right, the third case, there was a farmer who had so many cows by himself, but he wanted to manage the lifespan of his cattle. So he requested livestock data from a public organization which is in charge of that process, and that data was released, and that data led to a management app now widely used by Korean farmers. So the application is called Kiuso, and Kiuso, it tracks everything from reproduction of the cows to disease history, and it improves efficiency of the management of the farmers. So these cases show that open data can lead to meaningful services and innovation when guided by real needs of the people who really want to use and utilize data from the public organization is owning. So now I'd like to talk about how Korea supports dialogue among stakeholders. So to expand participation, Korea launched the Open Data Forum, a platform where government, businesses, academia, and civil society come together. It's a space to brainstorm and share ideas on emerging data topics, and it is complementing the strategic council that I mentioned, the Korean governance that I mentioned in the beginning. The forum hosts monthly seminars on topics like civic engagement, the topic for today, and disaster data, also the topic for today for resilience, and election transparency, and so on and so on. The topic changes every month, and these events are offline too, but it also live streamed on YouTube, and the recordings are publicly available online, so you can watch it later on. And also the results and discussion results are also being uploaded to the portal of ODF, so anyone can check it transparently. So the message is clear. The data policy isn't just for experts. It belongs to everyone, for the people. So this collaborative culture has helped Korea respond effectively during crisis. So our director from MSET, Minister of Science and ICT, in the morning already mentioned this case. And a well-known case is the public mask map developed during early COVID-19. So as mask shortages became urgent, so civic developers supported by platform companies like cloud companies and public agencies teamed up to build an application. So the app used newly released health data to show where masks were in stock. Thanks to the open data and quick cooperation, millions of people found nearby mask suppliers, and it's a great example of how responsiveness and collaboration can make a real impact of the open data. And Korea also takes a proactive approach, not just responding to needs, but identifying them ahead of time. So one example is that like the National Core Data Initiative, a task force of public and private experts come together to identify essential data sets based on trends, demand, and national priorities. So the surveys and interviews are going on to guide the process to get the real needs from the people. And the Strategy Council then selects which data should be released for the National Core Data Project. So in Korea, we normally choose 30 to 40, 20 or 30, or around 30 national core data sets to be decided to be released for this initiative. So this ensures data serves real needs and actually usable by the people. So let me also give you the examples of core data too. Some examples include in the middle. So infectious disease treatment data, and it covers vaccine data, approval of the data, and dosage information, which supports health research and pharma development. And the another example is on the right is the flood response data, which was made public last year. And this is the capture screen of the organization that is owning the flood response data, public organization. And as you can see, in Seoul, the capital city of Korea, there is a huge river flowing in the middle of the city. And after some time, during summertime, after heavy rain, it sometimes overflows. So the government is now releasing flood-related data that can be used for things like a navigation application, alerting drivers, or helping reroute traffic in real time. So this kind of data has clear direct benefits for public safety. So now let's briefly talk about digital infrastructure. I know this platform was covered earlier in session 2, so I will just briefly mention about it. We have Korea's National Open Data Portal, and this is the main portal that people can go visit to try to get the data they want. And it provides data sets in machine-readable formats like, and also APIs too. So currently about 80,000 data, more than 80,000 data sets are released, and we are trying to improve the portion of the APIs data sets among the whole data sets that we have in the portal. So each data set comes with metadata, and users can give feedback or request improvement directly on the data page. So there is also a national data map to the right to help users find data sets across sectors. So you can visit there and try to see what kind of data are there, and what. Also, we have the best use cases of the public data. So you can visit there and check what kind of services have been developed by using the data sets. So we now have more than 3,000 private sector applications have been developed by using open data. So in addition to the public portal, Korea operates an internal integrated data platform for government use. So it allows officials to upload data, administrative data they have, and also they can run analysis model that the platform already has, and request data from other agencies too. So it can be possible through the internal data analysis system, integrated data system. So for example, to identify areas vulnerable to fire, so let us assume that there is a public official who is trying to come up with a region that is vulnerable to fire. And then the platform, he can visit the platform and upload the data they have. And then they build data like building age data with emergency dispatch records that he have found through the portal. And this creates spatial insights to better allocate fire prevention resources. So that would be the purpose for us to come up with this platform for public officials to make policies based on data and scientific evidence that we are trying to do. To wrap up, Korea's experience offers a few takeaways. Number one, the strong governance and legal frameworks are foundational. And number two, inclusive platforms foster trust and innovation, which is very important for stakeholder engagement. And also, transparency builds public trust. That trust supports deeper engagement. And finally, a digital infrastructure must be designed to enable both participation and policy impact. So Korea is trying to continue to broaden our policy to meet people's needs more, and we welcome collaboration with other countries for the knowledge sharing. So thank you so much for listening. This was a Korean case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. Now I would like to invite Dr. Kim from UNCTCN. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'll probably repeat this until I get my slides up. So this is J1. Very nice to meet you all today. I'm from UNFCCC, UNEP CTCN. Our acronym is pretty much telling us the nature and the mandate that we have given from the COP, the Conference of Parties, which is accelerating and investing on climate technology transfer and innovation. I would like to give a brief about the organization and then move on to some of the cases that are AI-led or digitalization related and share some lessons learned and also touch on what are the lessons, what are the collaboration points that we can make further moving forwards. So during the morning session, thanks to the team for giving me a whole lecture about the AI as well as the data sharing and the resilience. That was quite a long journey for me to learn about how this part of work on technology transfer and innovation is supported through World Bank and other partners over here. When I bring that context into a climate change context, it wasn't me or maybe not you, it was our before generation of us thought about it quite thoroughly around since 2000 and up until 2010, and they thought for us to combat climate change we needed three mechanisms, which is technology, second finance, and then capacity building. So from the convention they introduced and established the three mechanisms, and we started operating underneath those mechanisms since 2014. So underneath the technology mechanism, which supports the technology transfer from the developed countries to developing country, we have implementation arm called CTCN, Climate Technology Center Network, where I work for. And then we also have a policy arm who gives the operational guidance, and then the operational guidance as well as the knowledge briefs that touches on the global wider public knowledge dissemination. And underneath the finance mechanism, we have Green Climate Fund as well as Global Environment Facility. And recently there was a launch of a loss and damage fund underneath these conventions. Since the operation of CTCN, we have supported over 370 technical systems, which is our main service area, benefiting 110 countries in terms of their climate technology transfer and innovation. The main service area that we have is technical system. We support up to 250K per project for 1 year upon country's request. Our second service area is capacity building, and our third service area is collaboration through knowledge sharing. And our 10-year report could be accessed through the QR code over there. Our governing body is COP and CMA, meaning the Paris Agreement. And as you well aware of it. The Paris Agreement flipped the narrative from the developed country focus to developing country, meaning that all of our technical system, capacity building, knowledge sharing services are demand-driven approach. We take demand-driven approach, meaning that we receive the requests from the developing countries. Therefore, we match those requests to the implementing partner, those who have the technology solution. We have done this for the last 10 years, and it has been a success. And we'd love to touch on some of the work plan that we have received from our advisory board. But before that, we do have two focal points, which we call it as our asset to our secretariat. First is our government officers, those who gives us the project oversight. So we call them as a national focal point, nationally designated entities, those who are sitting under Ministry of Environment or Ministry of Science and Technology, or depending on the governance of each country, they could sit under Ministry of higher education, but they are director level focal points, those who oversees the national level climate projects, and they are the technology focal point to the UNFCCC. Once we receive the request from them, we match them to our network members. This is a snapshot of our network member. We have gained over 900 network members globally, those who are our potential implementing partner of the project that we receive from our nationally designated entities, NDEs. As you can see, our 50% of our network members are small to medium-sized enterprises, followed by government affiliate research centers or NGOs and so on. Since 2023 to 2027, and up until 2027, we received our guidance from our board that we should use the digitalization and national system of innovation as our enablers to transform the system. What system areas? There are 5 sectoral system areas that we should support, which covers the water, energy, food nexus, which is expansion from the agriculture. We have buildings and infrastructure, which used to be just green buildings, but now green cities. And we have sustainable mobility, which used to be just e-scooters or e-bikes, to now green transportation. And we have energy system, which taps on the power plants and changing their narratives as well. And we have business and industry sector to support. This 10 years of experience, and with the new work plan, what we have learned is that when it comes to building a trust, different to sustainable development projects, what climate project requires is a high adaptive management skills. Therefore, when we, as a middle person, delivers the projects to our countries that can boost their adaptive management skill to the climate crisis that changes their lifestyle almost in a daily time, actually increases the trust to the system. Therefore, they increase their ownership to the project. So that was one of the key lessons that we have learned. Given our program of work talks about system transformation, I wanted to bring the theoretical backbone and the approach that our secretary is taking when it comes to supporting the system transformation. We took the very long-standing system thinking ecological theory from a Bonhoeffer, who is the father of this whole theory that centers the people and the action, meaning that as we can go back to our why UNFCCC came up with these 3 mechanisms, it was to combat climate change, meaning there must be an action behind it. Once we invest in technology, once we increase the sustainability of that technology, transfer through finance by capacitating people, if there's no action behind it, there is no impact. So with that, when we design our programs and projects with the countries through our capacity building programs, we focus on the individual level change. Individual level change, those who are the micro level individuals, which are our nationally designated entities. Therefore, we try to increase their ownership by giving them a voice to speak about their needs, as well as we listen carefully to them. Once we hear the whole story from them, what we do is that we match them with a meso-level actor, which are business technology solution providers, in our terminology, network members. And they are the ones we call them as a solution consolidators rather than solution creators, because the solution is actually created through the community. Those our government officers represents the community. So once we tied up the change solution coming from our policymakers, those who speaks for the community on behalf, and we tie that up with a meso-level technology solution, what we do at the end is that we try to tie that up with the macro level actors through the financing, sustainable financing, as well as coming back to the policymakers, because policymakers can do support the enabling environment creation. So we call our macro level policymakers, those who are actually individual level, micro level actor, as solution suppliers. So with this theoretical mindset in behind, I would like to introduce the service process that we take. We first start with capacity building. There's a global level and regional level capacity building program that engages the stakeholders that are potentially creating a scalable technical system projects. Once we create the technical system project through these capacity building programs that are tailored to their readiness, we support national level technical system. So we started from the global level, regional level actors, and then we go deeper into national level engagement through our technical system. And once the technical system that is 1 year duration completed, what we do is we close the loop by doing another global level or regional level capacity building to disseminate the knowledge that we have learned from the technical system that happened at a national level. Therefore, there's a scalability, there's a chance for more funding, and so on. These are the types of technical systems that we can support and have been supporting, which are closely in the technology readiness survey, if you're aware of it, from the 1 to 9 level, we've been focusing on 1 to 3, which is creating enabling environment. So we do policy design and development, which is a framework and roadmap design. No wonder why we didn't receive a roadmap request from Maldives, because you already covered that for us. We do develop methodology and tools, as well as pre-feasibility studies, also capacity building, focusing on communities at a national level, as well as the small-scale pilot testing through our technical systems. I wanted to give an example of some of our technical systems that we have done in Asia. This is one with Malaysia that we developed a multi-hazard platform for monitoring and evaluation of climate risk of coastal zones. I won't go deeper into each of them because you can find the fact sheet on our websites, and happy to share that the link later on. But we do cover globally, so we have Asia, Central Asia, and Georgia as well. Also LAC, St. Kitts Nevis, that we have supported quite recently. I didn't put it in this slide, but one of our TA that is related to AI application is Solomon Island. So in Solomon Island, there's a mangrove which is a natural seawall that hinders or that protects the land from the sea level rise. And up until 2018 or 2019, there are huge amount of investment happened to protect the mangroves by other stakeholders, other donors in this ecosystem. And Solomon Island wanted to know where we are at in terms of the progress that they have made with the money that they have received from other donors in terms of protecting the mangroves. Therefore, they asked for a request to predict as well as monitor the current status of the mangroves growth. So what we did was we tied them up with a network member, those who had a technology that captures a satellite, which is a GIS, to detect which area of the mangroves are most deteriorated or most not performing. Therefore, they send the people to that specific area only to have another second source, to have another secondary check with the growth of the mangroves, and then they continue the study. So what Solomon Island really appreciated from this TA was that how that IT technology was used, because if without that, they would have just sent everyone to all the areas within the island to do mankind detection of the growth. But with the one small IT tool that was there at the very front, helped them to decrease the budget but increase the whole impact of that technology innovation that they have taken. So all of our TAs are neither top-down nor bottom-up. We call that we take adjunctive approach, meaning that the flexibility is most required when it comes to climate project support. Talking about a partnership, our office, Partnership and Liaison Office, is launched in 2022 in July in Songdo, right in front of the World Bank's Korea office, just across the road. Our funding comes from MSIT as well as Incheon Metropolitan City for the 5 years, and we have been striving to meet our main objective as a Partnership and Liaison Office of the CTC and Secretariat, which is linking our technology mechanism to finance mechanism. So we are located at the same building with GCF with the intention of all of our TAs that are completed or under developing is shared with GCF Secretariat and their regional offices. Therefore, their focal point NDA, those who are sitting on the Minister of Finance, talk to our focal point, those who are sitting on the Minister of Environment or ICT within the respective country. We also have a second objective, which is supporting the collaborative RD&D, which is research, development, and demonstration. I will show you some of the programs that we do, which is critical for creating a base for data sharing and safe room for information sharing. Therefore, the hurdle of intellectual property gets deemed with these programs. Some of the examples that we have supported our TAs that are scaled up to the GCF readiness, project preparatory facility, and the full funding proposal. Although we have numerous cases of scaling up our TAs to GCF, not only that Jeff, as well as other financing entities, what we have learned is that, and what we failed to do was critically categorizing what data to collect in the process of implementing technical system. In our every previous technical system, what is missing is the behavior data that are measured before and after our intervention. Therefore, we cannot really claim the rate of change of people, those who are governing the whole system that we want to transform. So with this lesson learned, that we started to share this lesson learned to our board members, and they have taken it, and we're hoping to prioritize this element of behavior data set collecting as part of the TA to be mainstreamed in our future TAs. Last year, we did a global capacity building on artificial intelligence, which is a flagship initiative coming from our technology mechanism of UNFCCC, #AI for climate action. So we have covered over 94 country representatives, and we have also had Zaki for our Asia and Pacific program for him to share his knowledge on how to integrate AI and how to unpack AI for the climate action. What we have learned was that maybe you know it so much if you've been working on an international development scene, that we have a regional characteristic when it comes to accepting AI, and we've seen the different pace that they want to take. For example, Pacific, one of our NDE dropped the word saying, slow and steady wins the race, meaning that they want to be the cherry pickers at the end. They yet to want to initiate any use cases. They want to wait until all the others make the failures and then cherry pick the one that is successful, but that's what they preferred. That's what we heard. That was last year. Maybe this year they've changed. What we learned from Asia was that they're pretty much having a choice fatigue. There's so many offers in front of them when it comes to accepting AI, and they also have internal capacity to create a national system of innovation on digitalization or AI. With that note, we then understood that we need a slightly different approach when it comes to engaging Asia countries to digitalization or AI application. Africa, they're thinkers, they're currently thinking, and they will keep on thinking. That's what we have observed. Whereas LAC, we found that they're pretty much open to applying AI to capacitate their government offices, their team government and ministries. So with that note, we've co-created over 110 project ideas that has AI component in it, but it's up to the countries to put them into a request so that we can support. But we are calling for our network members, prospective network members with the AI specialized specialty in it to join our pool so that when the request comes out, you can be the one implementing on behalf of us. Specific to Korea, we realized that there are so many emerging technologies that are adapting and accepted the digital tools. With that, we tried to tie those frontiers within this scene, those who are Korean network members, with followers coming from the other side of the region. So we have a program called Learning Visit, as well as a global workshop. We've done it for green hydrogen as well as for pure cell, but we're seeking to expand it to cover the AI. One of our ways to expose these new technologies with our NDs are through voluntary technology talk and TA bidding process workshop. So we select countries with the highest readiness level to accept certain technology, and we match them with the exhibitors, those who are exhibiting their climate solutions. I've heard from the morning session, when it comes to resilience, it's the data sharing that is most needed. And I've heard a lot of existing Korea's cases. UNFCCC Technology Mechanism also launched an initiative called AI for Climate Action. And the Grand Challenge winner of last year is actually from Latin America region and Caribbean, who created the AI for seeds, meaning that targeting on seeds countries in the Caribbean, they hope to apply AI technology to detect the disaster risk rate, therefore predict using the large language model, and that was the winner. And it is our mandate in the next following years to support that project through our technical assistance projects. We are building the use cases through our technical system projects, but there are also ones that are not done by us because we are not the first one to launch this kind of initiative. Just like World Bank has been working on digitalization for such a long time. We learn from others. Therefore, we do appreciate the events like this. We have case studies that are capturing the Asia and the Pacific cases, which is publicly available, as well as the information note, how we can move forward to overcome the challenges and risks. So with that note, I would like to end my presentation. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for giving let's say, all the audience and the participants another fascinating program that is helping other countries within the region and beyond for the same purpose. So with this, I guess I would like to invite, let's say, the four panelists right now, just for a quick chat, because we already been overwhelmed by how important technology is, data is, and in the same time also we saw different cases here and different tools. So one aspect in order really to secure the sustainability of such kind of effort and take it to scale is people. And this is what we would like to talk about during the next 30 minutes. So if you can join me here, we will just, everyone will grab a chair. When it comes really to people-centered system and how we can sustain this effort. So let me start with Mr. Beck. Let's assume for the time being that all the efforts of open data are successful. But from your own experience, and I heard quite well that you went back to developing countries. You even spent 3 years in Tunisia, if I'm not mistaken. So you know that the reality on the ground in terms of digital maturity is different. Even the culture is different. So with this, do you think that is there a way that we can sustain such kind of effort more than or beyond just one project at the time? Is there a momentum that we can take to the next level to actually continuing with time such kind of effort? Because as we are seeing from Korea, this is becoming part of the culture. It's by default. Data sharing is by default right now. So how from other countries they can really do the same, or at least what are the ingredients that developing countries can go further into this journey?
Thank you for the question first. That's why I put, during my presentation, that's why I put importance on formal governance led by the government. So I also appreciate the private sector's efforts to join our system, but I think the formal governance led by the government should be first, based on the legal governance and strong, robust legal framework and governance. Because when I was in Tunisia for 3 years as a head of the Government Cooperation Center from Korea, and I've been to many cases where people meet together and discuss about their needs for sharing, engagement for data sharing, and so on and so on. And it was also funded by the international organizations like OECD. And it was, what I felt by that was this kind of eventual, like one by one just event, because they gathered together, they talked about their needs, but their voices were not officially gathered to, and it wasn't conveyed to the government who are actually making policies for their national policies. That's why Korean government, like I mentioned during my presentation, made a digital strategy, open data strategy council, and making private sector people to join, and trying to make a connection between people and the government. And also, what I also like to emphasize is to make a regular basis of planning and reviewing the results of the policy that we've been through. So Korean government is making open data master plan every 3 years. So in every 3 years, we are implementing the policies, and after 3 years, we are reviewing the results of the policies that we already implemented. So this kind of a regular basis and trying to make people to join our official system is one of the keys that we can make listen to people's voice for our data governance, for sharing.
Thank you. Samir, you're my dear colleague and just sitting next to me, in fact, in the office next to me.
I keep hearing the data crunching all the time.
So maybe we can go and hammer on the same question, especially that you already experience a lot of challenges during your years of experience with developing countries. When there is a kind of a decision-making process that needs to happen here, what are the challenges that are stopping, let's say, the client countries from sharing data among themselves and really promoting such kind of usage?
Thank you, Zaki. And just by way of introduction, since I came late, I'm Samir Akbar. I'm based here in Songdo, next to Zaki, as he said. I work on environment and climate. I've been with the bank for quite a long time in a few different regions. And most of the time I've worked in the front lines on projects, on operations. Perhaps this is maybe one of the first times I'm sort of not so much in the front lines out of the office here. And much of the work I've done is in South Asia, in Africa, Middle East. So I can relate to this from my experience there. So maybe I'll tell you a couple of stories just to maybe keep everybody awake. It's kind of at that time of the day. In terms of challenges, and this is I won't name the country, but one of the African countries that we were working in on a water resources project. And basically there was this out in the front lines, the hydrology office, which would have to monitor the water flows. Flooding is a big problem. Water flows have to be managed and have to be monitored and managed regularly. So there was one person's job to basically go out there, stick a stick in the ground, mark the level of water, and leave the stick there, and go back every month and see where the water level is, make a note in his notebook, come back, put the notebook, lock it, next month, go and do the same thing. You can imagine over the years how many notebooks had been collected with these single columns of basically showing the data point. And that was literally, almirahs full of notebooks. And we were trying to convince them that, technology is moving, things have evolved. Perhaps it's time to move on to, data eyes in the sky, use smartphones, but that was not happening. And this is the funny part, perhaps the poignant part of this is that one day we heard from the boss that, oh, I think we need to do that. And we said, why? And the guy said, well, the gentleman who used to go and collect data, he died. And he not only died, he had gone to measure the level during floods, and a crocodile ate him. Sad story, but I think it drives home a couple of points, at least to me. One is, it was that guy's livelihood, actually, who used to go and do this month on month, and of course, and secondly, that data was like gold to them. Everybody would approach them for that data when the time was right, and when they needed the floods-related data. And it gave them power. It gave them control. So I think one has to understand some of the incentives, disincentives, or drivers for sort of behavior that you want to change that happens. Well, ultimately, the good story part is he opened up for unfortunate reasons to really adapt to technology that was already out there. But I just wanted to illustrate the frontline issues that we often still face in many of our countries. Let me quickly pivot to another example, which is more internal to the World Bank. And I think when I came in, I think your presentation referred to EIAs, the Environment Impact Assessments in Maldives, I suppose. I mean, they are actually a treasure trove of data, but nobody mines them enough. So I'm glad that Maldives has said they would want to do it. But the World Bank has moved, and the World Bank does these projects which all require EIAs, which all collect data. And now, thankfully, we are moving to more of a digitalized system to support through an initiative called Tech for ESF. Some of us in the bank may have heard of it. But the point I'm trying to make here, and I want to show you, is that in the good old days, when I was doing safeguards, environmental impact assessment work, we would, when you do a project, you develop environmental monitoring management plans, you leave them with the clients, which is the government departments. They are supposed to fill in those for when you supervise the project, you see that, okay, have they really monitored the water quality, the air quality, all that they have to do. And they're supposed to send it to you, or you're supposed to get them from them. But a notebook like that could very well be filled in sitting at home, and you would never know. And indeed, we've had lots of problems in our projects where the data has shown something else, but public complaints have flipped that narrative. What we are moving to in some of our projects now is handheld devices where the data they input is geotagged and can be uploaded right away through the cloud or the servers, so that we can also see that sitting in Washington or wherever else, and it's put onto the dashboard for the project, so public can also see. And I think that shift, that challenge that we had of data manipulation, so to say, or poor reporting, has sort of now been overcome, is being overcome, I would say. We are not there yet, but these tools are being made available thanks to technology that can make monitoring and management more robust, hopefully reduce the number of complaints, reduce number of accidents in multi-million projects, dollar projects that we do. So I hope that illustrates a little bit of the challenges and how we are trying to get around them. Thanks.
No, thank you for sharing with us real life stories here. But you said something about the incentives, and I don't want really this to go away. So, Dr. Kim, as per your presentation, it's obviously that you're working with networks more than anything else. So what are the incentives that you are providing or you experience in order to bring different people together? And even you were even highlighting the role of private sector and different academia. So how you are, what models are you using in order really to give such kind of incentives to work together, share the data, and move forward, let's say, with a successful intervention?
Thank you for the question. We first look into the failures, always, because from the failure we can learn things. The success stories gives us a good story to sell, but the real lessons actually coming from the failures. Mm-hmm. With that, that's why we critically analyze our network members' capacities. And from there, we slice them by their characteristic, and then we give them a tailored service in the program that they can engage with our key stakeholder, who is the government offices. It is very time-consuming, but until unless we make it easier for them to consume our service and be an ally to us, they don't really buy in, because there are much larger opportunities that goes beyond our CAPA of 250K for each TA that we support for the countries. So with that, the incentives that we give to our network members is a multi-country TA project, meaning that through their one technology, they can tap on multiple countries. And from a government point of view, the incentive that they get is a regional program that therefore they can create regional voice, because all of our TAs are directly feeding into the negotiation of a COP as an evidence. So knowing this key characteristic of our secretariat, that's how we've been doing. But when it comes to data sharing, not only the easiness, but we also emphasize on the disadvantage of using it. If you do not share the data, these are the... So we kind of use the fear appeal as well as emphasize on the benefits of using or creating high quality data. And there was a discussion this morning that Korean stakeholders were emphasizing on the importance of high quality data. And for us, high quality data is a number of people changed through our intervention. Therefore, we try to emphasize that part with our government offices. Although not everyone buys in, but I think consistency is key here.
Chris, can you please introduce yourself, but also just for everyone to know, is that Chris is representing one of the initiative of UNDP here in Korea. So please.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Ziegler, and I work for a UNDP Solar Policy Center. We're located quite close to you, actually.
Yeah. So, as we know, UNDP is really one of the agencies that always working in the middle between government and communities. And we heard even Dr. Kim when she presented her way through the journey of CTCN. There is a kind of always a balance between the top-down priorities and bottom-up realities on the ground. How this balance, especially within the center, when you analyze what you are seeing, when it is related to data-driven development projects, please.
Sure. Unfortunately, I don't have stories with crocodiles. I can't speak about frameworks because the work we do at the center is rather small scale. It's catalytic, we like to call it. So we basically partner with countries and try to bring Korean expertise to partner countries, but at a smaller scale. And we're looking to drive catalytic change. One example is we started to work on generative AI with a couple of countries. And there's one agency in an African country, it's a statistical agency that approached us. They're working on a chatbot. And the goal that they have is to connect citizens to statistical data. And they came to us because they had several issues with the chatbot. Namely, it would hallucinate and it would not do what they wanted to do, was inaccurate. So we told them to send us the code. And when we took a look, what they had done is they had used a large language model and connected it to PDF documents that contained quantitative data, which, if you're a bit familiar with this, is not a good idea. Large language models are not very good at acquiring quantitative data. They hallucinate. And also their statistical agency, they should have connected something else, a different kind of chatbot, to a database. So we basically looked at this and we gave them feedback and tried to put them on the path of doing this differently. But what it showed and this is kind of where I want to validate what the colleagues talked about today in the frameworks and so forth, if frameworks are absent, if there's no grand strategy, people will still experiment, which is good, but the experiments can go bad and they can have bad implications. So I think there's kind of what's going on at the ground. People try with very low resources to do things, which is great. It's also a user-centered design, so they have the user in mind when they design those things. But building those out, because they don't have the same systems in place as Korea has, for example, things might go wrong. So I think this is where we're at with AI, and there's this, as you have mentioned, this issue between what's going on the ground, what is happening, what is being experimented with, and then what is on the bigger scheme, other strategies that guide this in frameworks. So it's very difficult, I think, at the moment to bring those two things together because things in AI are moving quite fast, and at the same time, there's still very low capacity when it comes to those overarching frameworks. So that's something that we are grappling with because the resources we have, they're very limited per partnership, and we try to provide this catalytic support, but if the frameworks overall are not there, then we're struggling. And I think the only way forward is basically, it's very simple, it's capacity building, it's enabling people to understand what they're doing and try to navigate their way through systems, even though there's no big overarching guidance because the systems itself, they're not fully there.
No, thank you. So before wrapping up, maybe I would like from each one of you a kind of the secret formula. Very quickly, in 1 minute, after a long day of seeing how important it is data sharing for resilience. So how can we make shared data initiatives, project, program more inclusive, but also collaborative in the same time?
Okay, so let me go first. So throughout the whole sessions, I've learned that there are many, we're still having difficulties like technical issues like interoperability and also the ministries and institutions are siloed. But one important thing is we are trying to break the barrier at the moment and trying to make people come together and share ideas. And that's the starting point, I think. So we are on the right track. So let us share more ideas throughout this kind of meaningful event. I hope I can have more opportunities to share our Korean cases and learn from other countries too. Thank you.
I think the whole day sessions were giving me one message, actually reminding me that what we do is a relay race, because we cannot do a thing by ourselves. And all of us have our own mandate as an organization or as an individual. You have your own passion and the mission. And if we are all in this together, understand the importance of data sharing for resilience building, I think hand-in-hand action, which is once we initiate, you take it over the next part, or vice versa, and making a momentum can be done. So that was a good reminder for me that this whole thing was a relay race. But when it comes to myself as a citizen, also a user of this data, I think making it easy to share it is a key, knowing that the nature of human, we seek for efficiency and easiness. So from an individual perspective, I was getting that reminded as well.
So just to maybe a little bit of context to my point, I started my career just before joining the bank working on citizen science and citizens data. And I'm a big fan of that. So that's a disclaimer to what I'm going to say. Because I think, and we see it to this day, that trying to act, and I can tell you from last week in one of the countries in this region, trying to access data from a government agency is like, if I had hair, I would pull it out. But it's difficult. It's very challenging. And you basically get the runaround. And that's the reason I think there are so many initiatives that are out there which are open data platforms. And not just open data, but I link it to open science because I think there is a data collection and there is the analytical work to be done to it to convert it into meaningful scientific knowledge which is needed for decision making. So my sort of punchline or final point today would be that there is really a need to a scope to help scale open data, open science initiatives, but by providing an ecosystem that can support their use for decision making. In many of our countries that we work in, still data is difficult to get at the front lines, but there are a lot of very interesting and good initiatives happening in the academic, in the NGO, in the non-governmental space. I mean, for example, air quality monitoring is now so much easily done by sensors. Very, very cheap sensors that are, okay, it may not be the state of the art, but it is enough to help put public pressure to move the needle in terms of getting the government decision makers to take action. Which is the story I had when I started working in my career by using some very rudimentary monitoring technologies. At that time, sensors were not there, to get the public to create the pressure on decision makers to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe just to echo what Dr. Kim has said, it's a relay race. I think there's so many different levels to this where other countries need support. It's the frameworks, it's the strategies, it's also the small-scale experimentation. Samir has mentioned some low-resource things. We had a gentleman talk about Raspberry Pi and small language models. I think all these things need to come together, otherwise it will fail. You have a nice strategy and a framework. If the people are not capacitated to use technology, then it's just on paper and will not be acted upon. If you have people like we have in our case who are willing to experiment, but you have no framework, this will also not go very far. So I think today's event kind of showed this because it brought together so many different people from different institutions that kind of all talked about the same thing in a sense, just from different perspectives. So it's about collaboration, I think.
No, thank you so much. You made my my job very easy to conclude, in fact. So thank you so much for this. A hand of applause. Thank you so much for the veterans that stayed with us until the end. This is much, much appreciated, in fact. Look, I hope that you had a good day and a good discussion. It was really very rich, not just in terms of the information, but also how we came together on one goal, and in the same time we saw how we can implement it from different aspects and with different perspective by different stakeholders. But today we are just one step ahead in order really to talk with the same language and walk the walk together. So let me remind you a little bit of what happened. So you just register a bit and to build on it during our next steps. So it's obviously that today reaffirmed a clear and urgent message. Shared data is essential to building resilience in an increasing complex world. That's basically the emphasis of the day, and we saw it from different aspects. Not only it enables us to anticipate risks, respond effectively to crises, but also to build more inclusive and sustainable societies. In addition to what His Excellency the Minister said, there is a huge economic aspect that is related to it. Our opening session, if you didn't attend it, so I will remind you that set the tone with just Mr. Jason, Mr. Dr. Wang, and even Director Yu, emphasizing the growing importance of data partnerships in development. Their remarks highlighted how institutions like the World Bank, National Information Society Agency, and Korea Green Growth Trust Fund are working together to support countries in developing digital solutions, but also enabling environment that build resilience. In session one, we moved on. We explored why integrated data systems are so critical. Director Kim of KDI shared how Korea's response to COVID, for example, leveraged real-time data to target support to the most vulnerable. My colleague here, Saad, presented global examples, not just a few local ones, where geospatial mobility data and other sources of data have strengthened different aspects and different high-impact economic sectors like food security monitoring and disaster response, in addition to giving how the World Bank having its own global strategy when it comes to the green agenda. These cases and others illustrate how shared data can directly save lives and protect livelihoods one more time. In session two, just before lunch, the focus shifted to enabling conditions. Dr. Kim, again, another Dr. Kim, discussed how Korea climate data infrastructure supports predictive analytics for disaster preparedness. But Ms. Kim, this time, stressed the need for governance frameworks that ensure secure, ethical, and interoperable data sharing. These examples reinforce one more time the point that effective data platforms depend as much on governance and trust as on technology. It is in this context that the World Bank collaboration with the NIA and our development partners, supported by KGGTF, has been so valuable. Together with also our consultant D4D, have co-developed a range of digital tools, especially what has been demonstrated to you today, in order really to address climate resilience platforms, integrated disaster response systems, which is helping the decision-making process to go smoothly to address such kind of crisis. These tools that you saw one illustrative of them have already been piloted and tested in countries like Sierra Leone and Maldives, as we saw today. This is supporting evidence-based decision-making and enabling faster and more targeted responses to crisis. Our ambition now is to scale these digital tools across countries and regions. As we heard in session 3, the case of Maldives, His Excellency the Minister spoke about the challenges of scaling from pilot to national implementation. My colleagues here both emphasized that while technology can be developed quickly, sustained scale required long-term partnership, institutional capacity, and policy support. Hence, in session 4, we wanted to emphasize this point, that we cannot work together. We can work together. We cannot not work together. So the point that has been mentioned quite well by Dr. Kim here from CTCN is that it is time to work together on this agenda if we would like really to take to the next level. Not only that, but even during the morning, we heard from our colleagues from different partner organizations, including NIA, their willingness in order really to go to the next mile. Our aim is really to come with a more inclusive, user-centered, and participatory tools that will make it happen and make sharing data is by default. So with this, let me summarize, let's say, the output that we will follow up on into 4 points. Shared data is a foundational pillar of resilience across all the sectors. This is a multi-purpose, let's say, point. While today we talked about resilience in climate, tomorrow we'll talk about health, or even disaster risk, or even more. The second point is that governance, interoperability, and ethical frameworks are really critical for building trusted and effective data systems. This is our foundation, and we cannot deviate from this. Third, digital tools co-developed by different stakeholders, including World Bank and different consultants and partners, have proven their value and are now ready to be scaled. We will not wait more in order really to do small things. Finally, it's time for collaboration, inclusivity, and institutional commitment. And this is why we are open for more discussion in order really to take what we started today to the next level and keep the dialogue happening. So with this, big thanks to all of you to make the commitment to come share the moment with us, and for you who stayed until the end, please enjoy some free biscuits and nice tea and coffee. Coffee on me. Thank you so much, guys. Much appreciated. Just before ending here, there are a lot of people who worked behind the scenes in order to make it happen. So I'm very honored to work with a great team that they are taking over everything, and which went smoothly, no hiccups and everything. So Julia and De Jong, please stand up. Thank you so much. And if you will be tomorrow on CNN, so we do have an excellent crew that is taking our, let's say, our pictures. So, Ayoung, back to you just to give the last word. Thank you, guys.